Hello and welcome or welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Swarada and we are So They Read. Thank you so much for being here. We've been talking all about books for the last few years on Instagram, and YouTube is something that we started very recently. And we are so happy that at least this series is something that we've been consistent with. It has been a fabulous reading month of April for both Soumya and me. Soumya and I read two books in common. And when I do my wrap up, I'm just going to tell you all how I felt about them because Soumya is somebody who is normally very good at explaining what the book is about better than I do it because she literally writes down notes and she is actually very meticulous with her reviews. So I'm going to leave those two books out. So let's dive straight in. The first book that I read in April. So both Soumya and I read five books each this month of April. And I started with The Answer is No by Frederick Backman. It's a short story. And I think when I got this book, I got it free on Kindle. I think when it first came out or something, and I quickly added it to my Kindle, but I never got to read it for some reason, even though it was such a small, cute little story. But I finally sat down and I read it in April. I think I started this book on the first and I completed it on the second or something. Actually, you can just finish this book in one setting. I would recommend if you are at an airport, in a plane, in a train, anywhere you are traveling, and you just have like 2 hours in your hand. This book is your best companion because it is hilarious. If you know how Backman writes, this book is something that you will thoroughly enjoy. It is a very funny story about a person who is not very outgoing, and then suddenly he is bombarded with situations where he has to deal with people. And it is so funny. I was giggling and smiling throughout my read. But if you think you don't have time to read books, I would urge you to pick this one up and read. This is a translation. It is translated by Elizabeth Dinoma, and it is really, really fun. So, highly recommend reading this book, especially if you want to get a taste of how Frederick Backman writes. This has to be like your introduction to this. If you've not read any of his other works, pick this one up. It's really nice. The next book I read was The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is a time travel romance story, and I have a whole reel about this book's review that I have posted. So go check that out. The link is in the description. But my opinion about this book is very controversial. It's not controversial, but it's definitely different than what other people think about this book. Uh, I thought that it was a good story. I really liked the whole time travel aspect. Um, I think it fit the whole romance narrative very well. I had a huge problem with the writing. It felt very repetitive. It felt very explanatory where it didn't need to be, and I really thought that it could have been a shorter book. Because it at some places I thought she was just rambling and rambling. Well, I don't know. If you've read this book, please let me know what you think about it. At least I'm not a super big fan of her writing. I really like the story and the whole book as a whole, but I'm not a huge fan. Like, I didn't love the book or anything. it was okay. It was nice. The next book I read was for our local city's book club that is held at crossword bookstores and is hosted by my friend. It's called The Hobbit, uh, by J.R.R. Tolkien. Most of you already know what this book is about, and most of you might comment and say, "Why haven't you read this before?" But honestly, I haven't read these books. I don't know why. And I haven't even watched the movies. So after I finished this book, I actually went and I watched the first part of Hobbit. But then I looked up on the internet and people said that you should probably watch The Lord of the Rings first. So that is exactly what I have been doing. Ever since I finished this book, I wanted to watch the movie so bad, and I watched the first part. It was so good. I was blown away. I was completely pulled into the screen. And just as I was in this book, actually, I really enjoyed reading this book. I think the writing is, uh, it felt like, of course, it is a children's book and it does feel like you're reading a children's book. And I feel like there's a different fun in that. What a lovely concept, I would say. And for me, it's all new. It feels like I'm experiencing this for the first time. And you know how we felt when um, Harry Potter was coming up with new books, etc., or even for that matter, when Fourth Wing happened a couple years ago. That is the excitement I'm feeling now because I'm only discovering this series now in my 30s. So all that aside, I think I think I'm in love with um, this world altogether. So I already watched the first Lord of the Rings as well, and I am halfway through the second movie. I'm gonna finish it over the weekend, like the third movie, and then go and watch part two and three of The Hobbit as well. I'm gonna be glued to my TV and finish these movies because I'm just too excited. And then I will read The Lord of the Rings as well. So let's see how that goes. You will obviously get to know when that happens. Let's talk about the next book I read. And these two books are the two books in common that Soumya and I read. So one of them was our own So They Reads book club, book club's book, which is a memoir. So we did a non-fiction for the first time in our online book club, and we read Happening by Annie Ernaux. If you've seen the previous video, you knew this was the book. Like I said, I'm just going to tell you what I felt about this. I have not read anything like this in my life. The writing is so bold, so captivating, so raw. Like, we established the fact that this kind of writing is such a unique style of writing. It's basically from her diary entries. She's just collated um, some of her diary entries and she's turned them into a novel. And she won a Nobel Prize for this, by the way, in 2022. It was such a unique experience, even though the story is quite heavy. I'm really looking forward to reading more of her work in the future. And yeah, I will tell you if I read more of her work in the future. I'm gonna let Soumya tell you guys more about what this book is and give you a better review. But if you ask me, it's 90 pages. It's worth a read, especially if you're a young woman. Do give this a try. The last book we both commonly read is a classic, Frankenstein. I don't know which edition is this. It was really hard for me to look for this edition on Storygraph. But yeah, this is the one we read. I think this is the first book that Soumya read in April, and she texted me saying she was completely mad about this book and she really, really loved it. And that is when I decided that if I had time left in the month of April, I will pick this up and I will read it. And thanks to its site, I was actually able to manage this book before the month ended. And what do I tell you? Even I was as blown away as she was with the story. Um, Beautiful writing. It was actually difficult for me to get into the book because the was quite heavy. It's the Old English, most of it. It's a classic, so you get it. It took me a few pages basically to get a hold on the language and the prose, uh, and eventually the story. And I think at 12% or so, I was completely hooked, and I was like, okay, I want to know what happens ahead. And brilliant, brilliant book. Like I said, this is going to be repeated in Soumya's video as well. So I'm not going to bore you with details. If you want to know why people love classics so much, I think you should probably pick this book up. I think this has definitely made us fall in love with classics. And I'm only going to pick up more and more classics for the rest of the year to come. So thank you, Mary Shelley, I would say. And that's a big win because we are both not at all fans of reading classics. There are very few classics that I have read before even starting my reading journey. I used to always stick to, say, thrillers or mysteries, fantasy up to some extent. But discovering this was so special, and it's only going to deepen our love for classics even further. So we are very thankful for the So They Read challenge prompt, which is here, that actually made me pick this book up and read it. So most of these books, I think 7 Year Slip is also part of the So They Reads reading prompt. I may have mentioned it in the last video, and I'm going to mention it here as well. And so is Hobbit, actually. Um, this was the prompt I read it for. So, yeah, those are all the books that I read in the month of April. So, I'm going to take you through my list of books for the month of May. And I basically was hoping to tackle some of the big books that I have in my shelf for a long time. And I actually thought of starting my month with this one, The Book Thief. I know people who are absolutely crazy about this book. And again, it is because of the prompt that I actually thought of picking this up and finally getting to read it, because this has been lying on in my shelf for years, at least 8 years, I think. So high time that I pick it up and I read it. I think I was only avoiding these books because they're so big, and I never really was confident that I would finish them in time, because I want to, like, too many big books, too little time kind of a thing. But this has some illustrations. Have you all seen this? I mean, if you've read this book, of course you've seen it, but did you know? Do your editions have this? I don't know. But yeah, looking at the font and the text and uh, all of it, I think I'll manage. If I started today, I think I should be able to finish it over the weekend. It is a long weekend in India, by the way, so I'm really hoping that I'm able to finish this. We were actually supposed to travel. It was my dog's birthday on the 28th of May, and we really wanted to take her somewhere. But everything is booked, and we thought of it really last minute. So we couldn't find anything. So hopefully soon we'll take her out. But that means I have time to read, and time to read big books. So I really hope I finish this in the next week at least, if not this weekend. So I'm gonna put my target as 1 week for this one. and we'll see how that goes. I am keeping my fingers, toes, everything crossed at this point. The next book is actually a book that I'm reading for. This was already part of my reading challenge, and it so happened that Crossword picked this up as well. I haven't downloaded the copy yet, I think, but I think I'll just buy it soon. But we are going to read Hamnet. I think the movie is already out or is coming. I'm not too sure. But I did want to read this book before I watched the movie, and so it was in my list of books that I had planned to read this year. And I'm so glad that they've picked it up, because then I can read it with everybody else and discuss it and have more fun by reading this book. So, yeah, that's number two. Number three is our own book club's book called The Simoquin Prophecies. I don't know if you can see it well, but yeah, that's the book, The Simoquin Prophecies by Samit Basu. It's an Indian author. This is a part of a trilogy, and obviously, if we really like this book, I would love to continue the series, because I don't think I have read Indian fantasy before. I have read Indian mythology, like a lot of it. I did read one Indian fantasy by somebody who was our book club member, and she has written this book that was Indian mythology plus fantasy mix, and I really liked that world building a lot. So I'm actually very intrigued by this one. After we started this book club, Soumya and I realized that Indian authors are so good, and there's so many Indian authors out there that need to be seen and heard by everybody. And so we made it a point since last year and this year that in our book club we will consciously have a mix of Indian and non-Indian authors. So we have alternating months of Indian and non-Indian authors. Something went wrong with my mic and I had to start shooting again. So the back of the book actually says that this is Monty Python meets Ramayana, Alice in Wonderland meets The Lord of the Rings, and Robin Hood meets The Arabian Nights. So pretty intrigued by this book, and yeah, happens to be a page turner and a great story. So yes, I'm excited to read this with everybody else and see how they like it as well. Okay, now the next three books that I have are books that are contingencies. Like, these are the books that I would read in case I finish reading these three. And the first one is Mornings with Rosemary. Now, the Indian version, or what I have in India on Amazon India, is a completely different title, and I'm just going to put it somewhere on the screen. I don't remember what it was, but I've heard that The Book Thief is really heavy, and I wanted to read something super light after I've read The Book Thief, so I'd kept this book. Somewhere in the list, that in case I need to read it, I might pick it up this month. um, let's see, it is again part of the reading challenge, and this is the prompt. Sadly, I can never remember the prompts when I'm making videos. I think next time I'm gonna keep them handy, but for now I've put them on the screen so y'all can check it out. The other two books, one of them is one actually that I started reading, I think, in 2024, but I obviously could not finish it, or rather, I don't know. I just left it at um. One second, I have my bookmark. I left it at page 40. For what reason, I have no idea. But the book I'm talking about is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Like I said, I read 40 pages of this and I didn't read it after. I don't know, maybe I wasn't in the mood for it back then. wasn't in the mind space, or maybe the story wasn't catching my attention back then. But like I said, this is again part of me trying to complete my big books from my own shelf, which have been lying in my shelf for quite a long time, along with this one, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Now, both these books I actually got as part of a book haul that I did 3 or 4 years ago. So, you know how long they've been in my shelf. So, I really hope that if I do have time, I will hopefully finish these three books, that is Mornings with Rosemary and these two. If not, obviously they're going to be pushed to the next month, because they are part of my reading challenge, and I am definitely going to read these this year. And that's all. Those are all the books that I read in the month of April, and books that I'm going to read in May. Somebody recently asked me, what are the books that you would recommend to people? And sadly, I don't have one single recommendation. I have a lot of recommendations. And I feel like everybody should read those books. But sadly, the answer I gave him was, I really need to know the person to be able to recommend something to that person, because I feel like every person is unique and every person's taste is unique. But if you have read any of these books that we have recommended so far, we would love for you guys to tell us in the comments whether you like those books, or even if you didn't, you can just um, write it down. Maybe those books are not for you, and then maybe we can have a chat and decide what books we can recommend to you. But these are just general thoughts of these books, and if these thoughts resonate with you, it's very likely that you will definitely enjoy the book. We post a lot more reels and posts on Instagram. So make sure you follow us. And if you are a bookstagrammer, please let us know so we can follow you back. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, share it with your friends, with all the people who you think should read more books. And like I said, comment and let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. We would really like to hear your thoughts. Thank you once again for watching. Stay tuned for more videos to come. We are doing a new challenge in this month. The video may or may not be up yet. I'm not sure. If it is up, please go watch it. We're very excited for this challenge as well. So, yeah, hopefully more content to come. And this series, obviously, we are going to be more and more consistent with our wrap ups and TBRs. So keep an eye in the month of June for what all we read this month, and to see whether I was actually successful in reading 6 books. The bar is too high, but one book at a time. Thank you so much for watching once again. Bye bye.